Right, what's going on, guys? Now we're going to talk about Chelsea. I've done a review or preview, sorry, for Spurs, for Villa, and now we're going to talk a little bit about Chelsea because it's divided in opinion. A lot of people are predicting Chelsea to have a poor season this year. Last season, they predicted them to have a good season. Overall, I was seeing a lot of positive Chelsea comments. Um, I was one of the people that was slightly wary. I predicted them sixth last season, but a lot of people were predicting them even higher. And to put them sixth was considered quite negative. But I looked at it and I thought, they finished 12th the season before. Sixth would have been progress. There was nothing wrong with finishing sixth, and I was spot on. They started the season poorly, but they picked it up massively. Ended up getting rid of Pochettino at the end, which I felt was a really stupid decision. But I still think they've got some wonderful players in their team that will guide Chelsea to a higher place than sixth. I'm actually predicting them to finish fourth this year. Honestly, I think Chelsea will be fine. But two things might happen. So Enzo might be the real deal, and him and those players will be good enough to get fourth, or there's a possibility it might not work and Chelsea might sack him and then get another manager, and then they'll get a new manager boost with that guy. But because the players are at a decent enough level to get top four, I think regardless, whoever the manager is, I still think it'll be enough for them to get in the top four. So even though people are predicting them to finish quite low this year, I'm going for fourth. I think Chelsea will be absolutely fine this year, because, like I said, the players. If we go through the players, they've just bought a new goalkeeper from Villarreal. He's a ball-playing goalkeeper, and their scouts have identified him, and we've just got to see if he's any good, because Pavlovic and Sanchez just haven't worked out. Chelsea needed, for me, going into this season, they needed three players. They need a forward, a central midfielder, and a goalkeeper. So they've got two of them. They've got Dewsbury Hall, who I think is a really good player, by the way. They've got Jorgensen, the keeper, and now I just think they need another forward. I know they've got Nkunku, but he was injured for a large parts of last season, and I feel he'll need a little bit of help. But now Chelsea, I think, are well within the conversation for top four, and I think they'll just nick it. So they've sorted the goalkeeper situation out. We just got to hope that this guy's good enough. They've got two very good fullbacks in Gusto and Cucurella. Now, Gusto was brilliant last season. Cucurella got better, and he's capped it off with a brilliant Euros campaign, winning with Spain. And in central defence, they've still got Wesley Fofana to come back. Tosin Adarabioyo might not be good enough to get you to winning a title, but he's definitely good enough to get Chelsea moving up the table. He's a good centre-back, along with Disasi, who can only get better. He was kind of underwhelming last season, but in the French league, all I've heard from people linked with Disasi is that he's a very talented centre-back, and it took Rudiger a lot of time. Rudiger never really hit the heights in his first Chelsea season, but he got better and better. He's got one season in the Premier League out of the way, and there could be another gear for him. Levi Colwill, very young as well, looking promising. Badiashile, I think, has had enough chances. I'm not too keen on Badiashile, but again, he could be one of these people that proves us wrong. They're selling Chalobah. I think it's probably the wrong decision because he was starting to get a bit better, but they've got other centre-back options. So, it's one of them where I don't think it's a major issue for Chelsea. And then you look at their central midfield. I think Caicedo in the second half of last season was Chelsea's second best player, and as for the whole season as a whole, I think he was their second best player in general. Cole Palmer obviously being the best, and I think the second best was Caicedo. A lot of his work was going under the radar. I really think he is a special player, and Chelsea have got one hell of a player in him, and I think he's just going to go up another gear. He's a wonderful player. I wish Arsenal had him, but Chelsea have him, and I think he's going to be top joy. He's going to have a wonderful career. They've got a hell of a player there. And Dewsbury Hall, again, another guy who's possibly seen as a bit of an underwhelming signing because he's just come from a newly relegated team that's just been promoted. But Dewsbury Hall's a good player, and he's got the technical ability to control football matches. He was one of Leicester's better performers when they got relegated. And last season, I thought he was fantastic in the Championship. I think he was definitely one of the players of the season in the Championship. And he was one of those guys that was, I'd say if you were saying to me who the best midfielder was in the Championship, he'd be right up there. Um, and how many players have sensational Championship seasons and end up to go on and have good seasons as Premier League players? He'll be no different. He knows the manager as well. I think it's a really smart signing from Chelsea. And then you go even further up the field. You got Cole Palmer, who can play on the right. I think his best position is in the 10, but he could go up another gear. He was absolutely sensational last season. Mudryk, for me, I don't think we've seen the best of him. I think he's got another gear he could hit on the left, and I think Chelsea just need to be patient with him, because I think there's definitely more quality in Mudryk, and I think he could really explode on the scene at some point. If Chelsea can give him the trust and put him on the left, Sterling for me has seen better days. Jackson is good. Jackson can play up front as well, but give Mudryk games on the left, let him prove himself, and I think Chelsea will reap the rewards. Madueke on the right, Cole Palmer can also go on the right, like I said, and then Nkunku and Jackson up front. I still think they need another forward, but already I think that's good enough to get fourth. I think Chelsea, towards the second half of last season, were really starting to come into their own. But there's still a few problems, like the Enzo Fernandez issue. I didn't really rate Fernandez anyway, but then you've got the racism issue with a lot of players sort of turning on him now. I think that'll be the end of him. I don't think Conor Gallagher's good enough. But they've still got Lavia. Remember, Lavia, I think's going to surprise a few people if he can get himself fit. And then there's also quite a few young players that Chelsea have signed over the last couple of years who we haven't really heard of, we haven't really seen, but they've been signed for a reason, and they could turn out to be gems for Chelsea. A lot of the guys they've signed we haven't even heard of. I know they've signed the Jorgensen, but they've also signed someone else as well. They've been signing unknown youngsters all throughout Todd Bowley's reign, and these guys could at some point burst on the scene. And they've not even featured for Chelsea, and they've already been getting better. I don't think they'll come above fourth, but I think there's been a lot of talk about Chelsea, a lot of people criticising them and saying they're going to have a terrible season this year. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be confident. I think they're going to surprise a few people, and I really do think they're on the way up. But we've just got to see if Enzo Maresca's the answer, because if he's not, I'm sure Chelsea will have other managers lined up. But overall, their team, for me, looks very, very promising. And like I said, they're going to surprise a few people. They're not a perfect team, but they're a young team that's getting better. And I think they're going to build on last season. And I really do tip them to finish above the likes of United, above the likes of Spurs, Newcastle, Villa. And I think they're going to really surprise quite a few people who are predicting them to do badly. But we'll have to see. I've put them fourth, and I think that's going to divide opinion. But listen, any Chelsea fans watching, just calm down, and I'm sure you'll have a decent season. And yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. If it doesn't happen, then I'm going to look like a bit of an idiot. But that's my prediction. Chelsea fourth, and I think it's all positive.